discussed about the SDLC models, software development lifecycle models. It's what we have discussed in the previous, like waterfall, V model, all that. But of course, I haven't shared any screen so far. So what I'm doing now is that I'm just giving you an overview about those things, and then I'll go into Agile. So if you see, when you talk about the different models of software development lifecycle, as I said, the first one we call it as waterfall model. In this waterfall model, whatever the implementation we do in reference to the software development lifecycle process, again, I'm repeating, software lifecycle development process or stages, nothing but analysis, planning, design, implementation, all that. Models means depends on the requirement what you have, you are using model. Why choosing models is important? As I mentioned earlier, customer may be of different expectations in terms of the delivery of the project. Some customers want you to deliver project very fast. Some projects want you to deliver project slow. So it is always important for us to know what exactly customer is expecting and what is that we have to do. So for that reason, we must be knowing about why and for what reason are we working on the project. So why and what kind of model is something feasible. This feasibility for different ones. One is expectation from the customer. Second, experience of the team which we have. Third thing, like the cost, whatever the cost or the budget was allocated for the project. At the same time, timelines relating to the project. So these are the major factors why, which draws us to choose whatever the life cycle model is important. So first model waterfall, as I told you, one after another. Means once you are doing analysis phase, next you are going for planning and design. Followed by this, you're going for implementation, testing, deployment, delivery, and so on. That's how generally the process of waterfall is what you follow. In waterfall model is what it is. Once the waterfall model done, the next is V model. V model, as I told you, verification and validation. Means both implementation and testing. If you see this diagram, you could understand more clear, like developer cycle and tester life cycle. Developer means person who is writing code, all that stuff. Tester means who is going to test the particular functionality. So developer will have a life cycle. For example, if you are a developer, what is that you guys do? You do first, you get the business requirement specification from a BA, right? You'll get it because you don't prepare it, right? You get a business requirement specification from the business analyst. At the same time, you get system requirement specifications with the help of you as a technical team, business analyst, both combination will prepare system requirement specification. So based on that, high level designs and all will be given by the architect team, all that, high level, low level designs, all that. Finally, you will be landed up by writing the code for the particular project. Now, usually in SDLC model, waterfall, once everything is done, testing will start. But whereas when it comes to V model, what happened, whenever the requirement specification done, immediately whether the requirement specification was right or not, that will be comes under acceptance testing, which will be done by the testing team with immediate effect. When it comes to system requirement specification, the same thing, system integration testing and all, everything will be happens parallelly. Next, high level design. High level, whatever the high level design we have made so far, that will be tested as a component testing parallelly. Next, low level design. Whatever the low level design and all, everything will falls under unit testing and coding will be done by us accordingly. So the amount of time you are spending to complete a work, you are reducing based upon the requirement of what we have. So this is what we call it as V model stands for. Now, when it comes to incremental and iterative, these two are the models rather than approaches I said. Even I have given some examples even in the prior session. Incremental model means increments. You are adding new increments into the existing one. Let us say, as I told you in the beginning, I think yesterday, day before yesterday's session, I have taken an example, but let me explain the same thing to you. For example, when we have created a login page for the customer. Initially, customer never asked us the second level verification process, wherein customer is asking you to do it again, right? So he want you to add some second level verification process. So if you assume that if that was the increment customer you are asking, remember, customer is not asking you the change for the existing functionality. There are two different things. One, changing the existing functionality is one thing. Second, adding new increments into the existing functionality will be the second one. What is that you are doing here? You are doing an increment. Why incremental values, or why increments required? Increments required to have a better quality of work. That's what. For that reason only increments will be asked by anyone. That's the reason why this is what we call it as incremental model. Right? So one is about waterfall model. Second will be called as V model. Third, we call it as incremental model. Four, we call it as iterative process or iterative model or iterative approach. The best part is means you are working on something, giving it to the customer. Once customer is accepted, you are going to the next level. So this is what generally the iterative process will be happens. So whatever I have explained you so far about the traditional models, which are we using even till today? Because I cannot say that this is not being used nowadays. No, even nowadays, even in the organizations, even in projects also, we are using parallelly as like as agile. Now, what is that are we going to discuss about agile? Right? What exactly agile is? So there are few questions where, first of all, you need to get answers for these questions. The first question: what agile is? Why agile required nowadays? How is it different from traditional one? Traditional ones. Okay, so these three questions, first of all, you need to know before you are getting into agile, all that stuff. So before these questions to answer, this is how generally the difference you see from traditional team to agile team on a high level this thing. In traditional teams, if you see, there will be more people. It is very simple. The traditional team has more people. You have almost 30-40 people in a project where you'll be having a project manager, couple of BAs, architect will be there. There will be a system designer, a database design team, development team, technical team, testing team, right? So a lot of people are there. Traditional teams are there. So it is closely somewhere around 30, 35, 40 people somewhere. It may go up to where in traditional model. But whereas when it comes to agile is a self-organizing team which is limited in terms of the percentage of the people. Normally, I say one team of agile when we are working on in one part of this thing will be not more than 10 people. It's completely a self-organizing team. It is completely of 10 people, 10 different 10 people, but the roles will be different. There will be roles as well. Of course, I'll tell you because here we call it as project manager, developer, tester, all that. But here we don't call it as that way. We call in other way. Because if you remember when I explained about SDLC process, roles and responsibilities of a BA, if you remember, there was two different roles I have used. One is product owner and second is scrum master, right? So those two comes under this agile part. So this agile, as coming back to that, so this agile teams are self-organizing teams where self-organizing nature, this agile teams will be. So it's a self-organizing team where whatever the work we are doing and all everything will be done collectively. This is what generally self-organizing stands for. So there will be a person whom we call it a servant leader or a facilitator. Normally, this role will be played uh, by the Scrum Master, right? So Scrum Master, whoever the Scrum Master we have, so that person will be played as a servant leader and facilitator here. So this is how and what generally the difference you see from traditional to agile teams. Traditional teams has this structure, whereas when it comes to the agile teams and all that, this has a different structure like self-organizing team, servant leader, facilitator, everybody will be there. So this is how generally the difference you see from traditional to agile. One more advantage, I don't say advantage, one more difference you see in a high level this thing is here in Agile, you must be a multitasker. If you are a developer, even though the work has been assigned to you for a development, you cannot confine yourself for uh, development, right? So if there is a situation you come across, because it's a time boxed framing, as it is a time box, it has to be completed on a specific timeline. For that case, if there is any kind of absence from others, someone has to coordinate it and someone has to complete it accordingly. That's how generally the self-organizing teams has to work. At the same time, decision making of doing work and all everything done by them directly, because there is no work allotment given by the project manager or someone. It's a self-organizing team. Everything has to be done by them personally. That's what the other difference you see in Agile. Now, let's go back to the three different questions I have given. What is Agile? What Agile is? Agile is a methodology, or else some people, because people have a different names they use, methodology, or a process, or a way of approach. The best part, what I personally I feel is that it's a way of approach. Way of approach of how to handle teams effectively. Teams effectively towards reaching the goal, or reaching the goal with quality deliverables. With quality deliverables. So this is what generally, yeah. So this is what generally Agile is. So why Agile are we using? Because it's a way of approach, where this Agile way of approach will explain to you about a process of how to handle teams effectively towards implementing, towards reaching the goal. Either it may be IT project or it may be anything else apart. The reason why in the beginning itself, if you remember, I told you, Agile way of approach or Agile is something is not confined only for IT. Even in non-IT people, non-IT also Agile is required. Because how to manage and how to handle your teams effectively is what Agile teaches you. If you are working for IT organizations, you are doing it and you are implying this and you're applying this in your projects and as well as your team members. If you are working for non-IT, maybe you are working for operation side or HR side or marketing side, or maybe for healthcare side or somewhere, you are also doing the same. But the values and principles remain same. But whatever the work you are doing might have the differences. But what strategies, what timelines you are following, what are the rules and regulations, these will remain constant for everyone. Excuse me. Right. So this is the reason why Agile is all about. So Agile is not something, to be honest with you, which is not something completely new, right? So over a period of time, whatever the practical, what is meant by innovation? Innovation is not 100%. Innovation, nothing but transformation, right? So you're transforming from one to now, because the best part is we used to have a communication system called landline phones earlier. Now that has the communication system has evolved. I don't say it is innovation, it's an upgrading where you are landed with mobile phones. Again, that mobile phone, QWERTY keypad and all everything were transformed into Androids from iPhones. Maybe in future some other things comes. So this innovation, nothing but an upgradation, evaluating based upon the requirements of the industry you are moving. Earlier, people used to sit at morning 9 to 6 kind of jobs. People used to go outside usually, unless until if there is a personal work. Means as far as the jobs is concerned, that's how in the beginning days. So 9 to 6 landline phone is sufficient, because a person will available sometime anytime between 9 to 6 or anytime either at home or office. But now, of course, the change, it has changed a lot in long time back. But now, when if I am now here for some time, maybe after 1 hour I may be going outside, right? Maybe a 1 hour I may go outside. That's how, due to my personal requirement or maybe professional experience. So if anybody wants to communicate with me, there must be a communication. So what we need to understand, even Agile is also a transformation kind of stuff. So depends on the market needs, depends on the demands, depends on the challenges. What is that we are facing? We are right. We have written some because there were some authors for that to do has done that. So they have some values and as well as some rules and regulations was mentioned, were framed, and people whoever wants to get used to this agile and all everything has to follow to make it more successful. That's how generally this transformation of agile has happened. Maybe after agile, maybe in future, maybe down the line, and maybe in 5 years or something like or 10 years, maybe some other may thing comes. But it doesn't mean that agile will go away. Right? Agile people will use as like as the traditional models we are using, agile will also be used by the people. Parallelly, people will jump into the other areas. So this is a continuous process which people will follow. As of now, trending is agile for the next couple of years. Right? So this is one thing. Second, why agile is required nowadays? To have a faster development and deployment of the work in reference to the IT related stuff. First point. Second, continuous updation. Next, everything will build on short iterations, everything in short iteration format, and frequent delivery at work. Frequent delivery of work. So these are the things which is required agile nowadays. Faster development and deployment nowadays is required. Continuous updation, some other new things coming again. If you see e-commerce business, if you see whatever the offer they put in the morning won't be there by the evening, right? So the evening they'll come up with other offer. So depends on the market condition, business needs, changes and all. There are a lot of changes happens in the business nowadays, day by day, hour to hour. So those sort of changes should also happen, right? So we have to adopt those changes and all everything as a part of the regular work, and we need to move further without having any confusion or something of that sort. So that's the reason why that is possible in agile. Next, whatever the piece of work are we doing, everything in a shorter format. That's what we call it as short iterations. Iterations will be very shorter in percentage. Next, frequent delivery of work. Frequent delivery of work means work will be very frequent, right? So at the same time, delivery will also be done prior. That's what I said. Uh, Delivery will be planned first. Delivery plan, release and all everything will be planned first. Based upon the release and all, work will be initiated here. So that's what this answer for the second one. Now, how different is it is from traditional to agile? As I told you, it has more flexibility, followed by accuracy. Right. So these are the two different wins. One is flexibility and accuracy are more especially in reference to the agile one itself. So that's the reason why this is how generally you see the difference between traditional to agile. I hope you guys have understood what is that I'm going to say. Right? Is it clear? So this is what generally the basic understanding about agile. Now, when you talk about agile, on what basis agile works? Because there must be some basis for agile to work, right? This is what generally agile values are. This is what this agile value, or else we can call it as agile manifesto or values, whatever it is. What are agile values? Agile values or manifesto is laid on four different parts. One is individuals and interactions. Second is working software. Third, customer collaboration. Four, responding to change. Now, individuals and interactions. Individuals and interactions means whatever the work we are doing in reference to the agile part and all, everything is individuals and interactions based. What is individuals and interactions means? Individual interactions means there will be communication 24/7 among the group. That's what generally agile majorly believes. Means there is a regular interaction between the members on day-to-day basis about the kind of work, what is that they are doing, what is that they were about to do. All these will be discussed by the people. This is all comes under the first point. So Agile give more importance for individuals and interactions. This is point number one. Point number two, working software over comprehensive documentation. Normally, there is no specific documentation as we prepare in Agile. If any small documentation we prepare, there is a tool called Confluence, as I told you earlier. Confluence is a tool widely used to have a document collaboration. For that, generally this for that this Confluence will be used. So there you can update all the records and all everything there. This is what the second one. So second is that working software means you directly work on the software. This is the second point. Third point, customer collaboration over contract negotiation. What is customer collaboration? Customer collaboration means customer will also be a part of your work. Who is that? That's what the role called product owner. If you remember, when I explained you about the responsibilities, I mentioned about that. Right. So product owner is the role which was mentioned by you. So product owner is the person who will be there with us, customer collaboration, where customer will also be a part of the project so that we can complete this work as earliest. That's what generally we call it as customer collaboration, so that we don't see any communication gap and all everything further. Next, responding to change over following a plan means whatever the changes you want to do, you can do these changes as many times as you want, as much as you can. This is also one more point. So changes can be done at any point in time. So these are the 4 agile values and principles which normally agile will be depending on. Right. So these are the values, and these values followed by the principles, agile values, and all everything almost to the same, because the value principles was very simple. We give highest priority for customer satisfaction. That is the first thing. So when customer satisfies whatever they were asking, if you are providing on time with all the required deliverables and all, then customer is happy. So this is the first point. Second, changes can be done at any point in time. We can do as many changes you want, whenever you want. That flexibility you don't see in traditional model, whereas that you can follow in agile. So that was the second reason. Next, whatever the work are we doing and all everything will be short iterations. That's what I have told you in the beginning itself. When short iterations means every work will be divided into sprints. It is called a sprint. There are words we use it, a sprint. There are few, I'll write down here, right? So sprint and all that. Sprint, nothing but in that particular sprint, whatever the work we want to do, everything will be completed within the specific timelines, all that. So this is the third one. Next, 4, business people and developers must work together. That's what I said, customer collaboration. That is working. So these are the major areas. Of course, measuring the work of the progress. Those are the common things which is there. So why agile are we using nowadays? Because of that we have to transform and we have to update our works and all everything in a faster pace without having any difficulty. That's the reason why agile is what we are using. Now there is one more question which you might be asking me, so where I'm writing now then, how different agile and scrum are? Is it same, or is there any difference? Right. So normally this may be the question anyone will have into their this thing. Right. So normally, because we sometimes we say about agile. Sometimes we say about that as scrum. Right. So different terminologies we use, so that there are possibilities like people get confused. So answer is very simple. Agile is a methodology or a way of approach, what it is, right? So methodology which prescribes some values and principles. Whereas Scrum, or else we have many, of course I'm writing few. Kanban, XP stands for extreme programming, it is called as. we have an RUP, etc. are extreme programming. Yeah, right. So extreme programming, Scrum, Kanban, XP, RUP, etc. are frameworks and processes which will be used by the teams based on their expertise, right? So which one they use and all everything, we use these things. So that's it. That is what the difference you see. So whatever the process we follow or the frameworks we follow, end of the day, you have to follow the same values and principles of Agile. So should not be deviated for whatsoever reason. Now, next question, next point is, next point is, then if that was the case, why Scrum is more elevated? Why don't other things? Because normally this is also one more question. So why Scrum is more elevated and why it's not others? Because Agile Scrum has an advantage where Scrum is having three different roles like this. You can see three different roles you can see in Scrum. But whereas when you follow Kanban practices and all everything, there you don't follow these kind of roles. You'll be having only a team called development team. So that development teams will take care of everything. So there will be no other these things, all that. But whereas when it comes to Agile, it is not that. Agile has three different roles. One is product owner, second is Scrum team, followed by Scrum master. What product owner do? Product owner is the person who is to define the goal and vision of the product. Point number one, right? So whatever the goal and vision of the product, everything will be done by the product owner. First point. Second, developing epics, user stories, and all everything will also be a part of the product owner job. Means if you want to develop any kind of epics or if you want to write any user stories, all these will be taken care of by the product owner. You know it. All that I have explained in the previous session. Next, create and maintaining product backlog is also one more thing. So these are the three different major roles will be played by a person whom we call as product owner. Means customer representative. Product owner, nothing but customer representative. Second, Scrum team, nothing but development team, combination of all the developers, testers will be there. So who is responsibility to complete the given works. Now, third, Scrum Master. Scrum Master is the person who manages the team by managing daily Scrum review, retrospections, all that. Next, tracking the progress of the work. What is that they are doing, right? Velocity of the work, everything will be done by the Scrum Master. So these are the three different roles are there in Agile. Now, I'm going to write down few things now. One is about, first of all, you must be knowing about few things about Scrum. First, Scrum ceremonies. What are Scrum ceremonies? Because Agile principles you have discussed or Agile manifesto. But when you talk about Scrum, when you follow Scrum practice to develop or to implement something, there are some Scrum ceremonies which we have to follow. First point is this. Second point is, second point is that what are the different terminologies are we using? So the terminologies we use in Agile as follows. Right. So first, Agile called as methodology. Scrum, it's called as a framework. Because few words I'll be using in coming days in order to make you to understand. So prior to that self, I am writing down the terminology. Scrum is a framework. Users to Epic. It's a large scale of solution. Next, user story. It's a short description of requirement. Next, product backlog. Repository to store all the user stories. Repository to store all the user stories. This is what we call it as product backlog. Next, sprint. Collection of user stories. What is that? We are developing in a particular time frame. Particular time frame. Understood now? Clear to everyone? Is it clear or not? Right. So these are the things like Agile, Scrum, Epic, user story, product backlog, sprint. Right. So these are the terminologies. Now, when you talk about Scrum ceremonies, when you want to implement Scrum, there are a few things. One is about sprint planning. Second is daily Scrum. Sprint review and sprint retrospection. So these are the different Scrum ceremonies, because if you follow Scrum practice, I'm using Scrum. For example, I'm using Scrum in my projects. If I say that, right? So these are the Scrum ceremonies I have to follow. First of all, I have to do sprint planning. I means as a team I'm talking about, right? Not by an individual. Underline this. Right. So sprint planning has to be done first. Next, we have to do daily Scrum, followed by review, retrospections. All these things comes under Scrum ceremonies. Understood? Right. So this is what it is. So Agile is a methodology. Whatever the Scrum and all everything were frameworks. So why we are discussing more about Scrum? Because the transformation is easy. For example, if I am a developer, having work experience in the field of IT for a very long time, I'm good at coding, I'm good at all that. But now, if you want me to transform to Agile, there may be some hesitancy because it's a new environment. Because I felt I listened some from the other people that it's a time boxing kind of stuff. You have to complete the task on time. It's a lot of questions. So there is a possibility that people may there is a possibility that people may have a confusion over this. So that confusion should not be there. That's the reason why all these things were mentioned here, right? The sprint planning, right? So this is all about it. Sprint planning, daily Scrum review, retrospections, all that. So this is all comes under Scrum ceremonies. This is all comes under Scrum ceremonies. Now, why are you learning all this? Because end of the day, Agile you are learning, which must be beneficial to as a business analyst, right? Because if you are a BA, in what way Agile is being used and what is that I'm going to get expertise of? This is a simple question, right? So this is the thing which you need to know. So being a business analyst, what you do, you prepare documents, BRD, SRS, all that. Whereas when you are transforming ourselves into an Agile environment, in spite of communication, in spite of preparing documents and all, we always depends on user stories. We always depend on user stories, right? So how to write user story? If being a business analyst, transforming them from traditional in future, right? Traditional to Agile, they must have knowledge about user story. They must be knowing about what is user story and how to write, because instead of documentation, you're writing user stories. So how to write user story is what you need to know. So what is user story? I have already told you, right? It's nothing but it's a short description of requirement. Now, if you want to write a user story, there is a template normally we follow. Template to write a user story, it is not the way what we feel. No, there is a standard template we usually follow as follows. As a system user, action followed by result. These are the three different steps which normally we follow when you're writing down any user story. As a system user, action followed by result. This is what generally the template we follow. Now you could ask me one thing, Raj, why are we writing this from the perspective of a template, all that stuff? Why are we writing all that? Why? Because these, whatever I am talking about or whatever I am discussing about the system user acceptance testing, whenever you're writing on a user story, you're writing from a user perspective. This is what user wants. This is what user expects, right? So user perspective, user story has to write, right? So user, the name itself is that, right? From the user perspective, we have to write down the user story. As a system user, first, second action followed by result. So these are the three different phases which we have to follow. Now, I'll take one example so that I will be showing you how to write user story here. Creating a login page. This is what generally the example what is that we have taken. Now you need to write down user story using this template. But remember, before you are getting into this, if you want to use this template to write a user story for any of the example, there are some principles of user story, because there are some principles, standards we have to follow. Principles of user story while writing. Are as follows. Right? So what was the principle of user story is what we are learning now. This is what generally we call it as INVEST principle. And characteristic of a user story even, right? I can say it as a characteristic of a user story. This is as follows, excuse me. One is about I. I stands for independent. User story must be independent. User story should not be connecting with any other user story. So if it is having an independency, for you it is advantageous. You can do as many changes as you want. This is first point. Second, it must be negotiable. Because when you are writing down user story, what is required, we'll see, negotiate and we write. That's what we call it as negotiable stands for. Next, valuable. V stands for valuable. Valuable means user story should have a value. We don't write everything as a user story. Unless until that particular functionality has a value, then only you are going to write this. Next, estimatable. E stands for estimatable. Means you should be able in a position to estimate. Means, for example, if I have written a user story, you have written, if developer wants to develop, how do they develop, right? So they should be able in a position to estimate how much time it will be taken, what is the technical complexity, what is the business value, technical complexity, everything they should know. So that user story should have a nature of estimatable, right? Estimating nature is required. Next, small or simple. Simple or small, I can say. Simple, I can write. Simple or small. User story should not be so elaborated. Simple as it is. Next, T stands for testable. It should be able in a position to test it easily. So this is what generally the INVEST principle is: independent, negotiable, valuable, estimatable, simple, and testable. Right now, what is that I'm doing now is I'm writing down an example of creating a login page. What is that login page to create all that? when you want to create a login page, especially in reference to uh, the example, what is that I have taken? So user story 1 as follows, by taking the template into an account as a system user. I want you to create login credentials so that I can use the right. So this is what generally user story stands for. As a system user, I want you to create login credentials so that I can use the system. This is what generally user story stands for. Right. As a system user, I want you to create login credentials so that I can use the system. Right. So this is what the user story stands for. Now, system user. What system user wants to do? System user wants to use the system, isn't it? So this is what the final result a system user is expecting. User may be anyone. Now, if I am a user, if I want to access the system, if it must be my result. What action has to be performed? Creating login credentials is an action must be performed by the development team. Right? So must be developed, must be done by the development team. So this is how generally the user story we write. So as a system user, if I am a user, I want to log into the system for some reason. Either it may be an online banking or it may be an what you call um, it may be an e-commerce portal, whatever it is, right? User, I want to log into the system. For what reason? Action. What action? I want to create login credentials is an action which must be performed by the development team. Right? So this is what generally a simple user story is all about. Understood, right? So now, but if you remember this, let's say, for example, you're all belongs to developers, testers, all that. Let's say, for example, this was the user story I have written. Is this sufficient for you to write down user story to implement? I think no. Why? Because there is something missing here, which is called, this is missing. How is missing, right? How to develop, right? How to create, how should it looks like, right? So that never discussed here. So that is needed, right? So that was never discussed. So that is needed. That is the reason why every user story should have a acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria. Every user story should have an acceptance criteria. What was the acceptance criteria stands for? Acceptance criteria means as follows. There must be two fields for username and password. Right? There must be two fields for username and password. Next, need to have a submit and cancel buttons. Next, there should be a provision to retrieve the password. If someone forgot, we should have a provision to retrieve the password. At the same time, no registration as well. This is what generally the acceptance criteria is all about. So user story, As a system user, I want you to create login credentials so that I can use the system is what the user story you have to write. Followed by this, you need to write an acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria, like there must be two fields for username and password. Need to have a submit and cancel button. There should be a provision to retrieve the password, followed by new registration as well. This is how generally a user story followed by an acceptance criteria, which will be written by the product owner. If you are a product owner, turn product owner, or if you are a business analyst, we must be knowing about how to write user stories and how to write acceptance criteria. These are the two things which are essentially required for every functionality. Because if you don't have acceptance criteria, then there will be of no right. So if you don't have any acceptance criteria, then there is no value for the user story because there is no guidance. Maybe, for example, if you are a developer, there is a possibility. What possibility we have? There is a possibility that for a developer, we can simply give it to them. Not a problem, right? So they can simply understand this and they can follow it effectively. So they don't see any difficulty in doing this. If they are a developer, I'm saying, right? So for example, how to create user interface designs and all. There are some screenshots and all with me. I can give it. But for how about testing people then? Because people testing people should know about the functionality, how to test all that. How do they do that? What is the way of doing it? So for that, what is required? They need to have acceptance criteria. Because in this acceptance criteria, it will tell us very clear what is that and how it should looks like. So normally testing people write test cases and all everything in real environment. In spite of writing test cases, this acceptance criteria if you have written so that testing people will understand more better and they can use it accordingly. This is what generally being a business analyst, you must be knowing about agile, followed by what being a business analyst, what is that the role you are going to play and what and how you are going to do. Right. So you need to write down user stories. You have to write acceptance criteria even. This is all about the agile introduction of agile and focus towards values and principles and scrum value systems and all that. This is in connect to the role of a BA. If you are a BA, what is that you need to have a difference? For example, when you go for outside, if someone is asking you what you did in agile, you can say I've written user stories. Never ever say that in agile environment we have prepared BRD all that, right? So because we don't have that procedure in agile, unless until if you are following combination. Sometimes what happen I'll tell you, because this last session also I have told you, 100% agile, even we also don't use it. Depends on the situation of the team, depends on the team dynamics. Sometimes everybody were fresh, right? Everybody are new to agile. 100% agile implementation would be quite different for us, difficult. It's not easy for us to manage. So what we do, in spite of it, we do it slowly, right? So we follow the agile practices followed by the traditional models, both compensatively we use and we work further. That's how generally we follow. Do you understand? Everything clear to everyone? So this is what generally we see. So combinations works. Most of the times it works with combinations. It's not works with what we call it. Won't works with this thing. It works with combinations. So combinations works most of the times. So combinations will work here. So what is that we have to see and what is that we have to do is, first of all, you need to know what are those functionalities, and those functionalities we need to translate into user story. Followed by every user story, there must be some acceptance criteria which has to be prepared by you people. This is what you need to learn. So the next one, what is that you are discussing about the knowledge areas of BA? Right. There are different knowledge areas like business analysis, planning and monitoring, um, requirement illustration and collaboration. At the same time, we need to discuss about requirement analysis, design definition, all that. So that we are going to discuss from tomorrow onwards. So now, here are some questions. Let me see from the beginning.
Before you answer the questions, can you scroll up just a little bit?
You are not audible. Can you come again, please?
Um,
I think someone is speaking, but but that's not audible to me.
Can you hear me now?
Very slow. 1 minute. Yeah. Can you speak now?
Can you scroll up
Yes.
just a second?
Yeah. Do you want me to?
Yes.
Yeah, tell me.
Can you scroll up a little bit?
Okay. Tell me.
Okay. No, that's all. I missed that part. So.
No. I'll give you the session notes. You need not be worried. I'll
Okay.
giving you the session notes. You don't need. Of course, if you want, you can write always. No problem.
Okay.
But anyway, these session notes I'll be sharing to you guys.
Sure. Thank you.
No problem. And here is the questions. Can you have home-based as well? Hiraj, are QA and BA jobs home-based as well? Means work from home. You're talking about home-based means work from home. Yes, a few organizations were accepting and few were asking them to come for organizations. That depends, like few. But BA can be done with through online, through work from home, because all these pandemic days, what is that we did is only that, right? So you can do it at home. That can be done. Yes, this is for the question answered from by me, MIE, right? Okay. Short iterations means this is from Bhattarai. Short iterations means whatever the work we do and all everything will be done in shorter time, means shorter limits. For example, if you're talking about sprint, right? As I told you, the sprint will be not more than 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like that. So collection of, for example, we have taken 3 user stories. 3 user stories will be in sprint. So that has to be completed in 1 week or 2 weeks. That's enough. So no other time will be given else apart. That's what we call it a short iteration stands for. And I need to explain about RUP, so that I will be explaining later. Okay, because we have a less time, so that I am not discussing that. Right. So how it is different, rational unified process, all that. Short iterations means that. It is for your question, Bhattari. So how is it more accurate compared to traditional one? See, it's not accuracy. End of the day, it is all need. First of all, first point is need. Accuracy, there is no point of accuracy. See, end of the day, whatever the models are we using were tested and proven. So it's nothing to do with accuracy, because which is useful to us is what we see. That's what we see. Because, for example, agile is accurate, but we don't require. What will be the value then? What is the use? There will be of no value nor use, right? So those sort of things we have to see more. That's what my point. Is there any tools used for testing? Normally for testing, as I already told a couple of times earlier, we have Selenium, Silk Runner, Windrunner, Load Runner. A lot of tools are there. People use for testing normally. Yes, there are tools for testing people. I'm talking about. RUP stands for Rational Unified Process. Rational Unified Process. I will explain it as separate. I'll take a separate this thing on that separately. I'll do it. No worry. It was there in my mind. Because this Scrum, XP, Kanban, RUP, all these were different frameworks. But major focus normally on Scrum. RUP I'll explain. As a separate one, I'll do it. What is the full form of RUP? Rational Unified Process. Oh, okay. Someone has written it. Okay, right. Nice. See, user story templates you're talking about. If you are talking about user story template, one is this, and we have a couple of ways it. But when it comes to BRD, SRS and all, see, everybody have their own templates, but almost all the templates one the same, because what is that you are going to write end of the day there is anyway, it is same for everyone. So that is it. That's it. Right. If possible, can you please show us the real world user story? I think I have shown that. How to write user story, I have shown you. Let me show it on my Jira board. I think that will be more. If you want, I'll show it on my Jira. Okay. I'll show it on that. Can we have a presentation slide? So these I'll just allow me one day time so that I will copy all these on the session notes itself and I'll share it to you. Due to my medical emergency, I couldn't do any work since last couple of days. I'm not doing. So just give me a day. I will copy all the presentation slides to the Word document, session notes, what is that I'm sharing. I'll copy everything and I'll present it so that it has a both and a clear understanding for you. Okay. Yeah, you can have a screenshot. No mind. What is UML testing? There is no UML testing in BA, right? UML testing. UML is different, testing is different. UML will be used as a unified modeling language to explain to you about the models of the UML, right? Models of the functionality using use case, sequence, all that. Testing is different. So there is no UML testing, okay? Nothing. I never heard even UML testing. UML, unified modeling language, are separate. Testing is separate. Yeah, product owner and business analyst. Product owner, turn product owner. Yes, user stories will be writing. So this is how the practically it will be. There will be a user story will be written here. And for this, for example, if there is any reference of pages, anything like, you can simply click on attachment and you can add that attachment, right? How the page should looks like. If any reference is given to the development team, we have an option here. So we can write over here. Can we get what type of questions on BA? I'll give you last, not now. I'll give you. Scrum ceremonies are these. I will explain you Scrum ceremonies. Let me go through all this. Jira is a software which is used to write all the user stories. Whatever that I am showing you is this. Jira is a software where you will be writing all the user stories. Total agile team works here, right? Product owner will create a roadmap. He write user stories. So once the user stories was written and all everything, again all these will be in the backlog. From there again it will go to sprint. Again you need to add people here, release management plan. So this is all completely an agile Scrum, agile Jira training, all that. So this is a real Jira board, how it looks like. I will show on one day as separate. I don't want to mix up. A separate one day I'll show you how is it and how it looks like, how we works, all that stuff I'll show you, so that you guys have a complete understanding. I'll say I'll take a complete one session separate for this. Separate one session for complete on this to show you how exactly it happens, all that, so that you will be having more understanding. Because if I say no, it deviates, right? I think this is all the questions, right? Right. So the questions were ended. I don't see any questions here. So Jira, as I told you, Jira is a tool which is used to write user stories. We have a cloud version nowadays, it's available. Scrum ceremonies is what you're asking. Okay, Sheila. So Scrum ceremonies means this. Sprint planning. First, we have to do the sprint planning. This is how it is in backlog. From here onwards, we have to do the sprint planning. Once the sprint planning done, again, you need to do the daily scrum. Daily scrum means what is happening today, what is that you're going to do. So that once everything is completed, what team has to do is that here we have a project pages where they'll be writing down the meeting notes. In this meeting notes, they can write what date, who has attended, what are the information, what we have discussed, what are our action items. Everything was mentioned here. Right? If you can see this meeting notes. So we'll be writing all the information here itself. Right? So discuss topics, what are the action items, decisions, everything can be written here. So that everybody could see later. If someone is anybody absent, they can see. Review means the progress. To know the progress and all, this is where generally this Scrum Masters and all will show the reports. Like sprint burndown chart, all this stuff, velocity reports, all that. So this the reports and all, right? How many user stories we have taken, how many we have completed, how many is balance, how many story. Again, story points will be there. There are a lot of things. Agile is a complete this thing. Agile is complete. Agile, lot of things are there. Depends on the role to role, it will vary. Next, finally, retrospection. Retrospection means once sprint is completed, we do the retrospection. In this retrospection, we come to know what is that we have done so far, why we have done, right? So what is that we need to continue? Is it according to the way we understood was done or not? To know that, generally the sprint retrospections is what we do here. This is what generally sprint retrospection is. In this retrospection, we will write it down, right? What is that we need to start doing? What is that we need to stop doing? What is that we need to keep doing? What are those action items? Everything we have to write here. So this I will be showing, means this the complete, whatever I'm showing now, I'll be showing everything in a single separate session, not clubbing now. Okay, so let us start with the knowledge areas, all that. So this I'll show it as separate, so that you don't see any difficulty in it. No, there is no similarity for Selenium and Jira. Jira is a project management tool come tracking. Selenium is only for testing. So that is only for that. But Selenium never used for project management tool like that side, right? But Jira can be used for it. I don't think understand what is demo class stands for. What is meant by demo class? So there is no demo class, I think they will have regular classes, no demo class. Acha, you're talking about this, how this practically, how it works, all that stuff. You're asking me, I think that must be your question, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, if that was the case, that's what. It's complete session I'll be taking on Jira, how usually it looks like. This is irrespective of the role of a BA I'm talking about. How you to have a clear understanding. Maybe in future, if when that overview part I'll show you. But that must be separate. Because that separate session I have to take. Yeah, enough. Yeah, demonstrated of practical part. See, practical part means you cannot do all these things because it is not everything, whatever I'm showing, everything won't be done by you as a BA. What being a business analyst do is that you need to know how to write user stories and how to present here. You are doing only that. Because I cannot show all these, because of course I have already prepared projects, so that I will show you. That I will show you. The prepared projects, because we don't do the sprint planning, right? So there is again story points are there, story points creation, all this, but that will be there. That story points creation and all, everything will be done again by the development team. If they want to do the story points creation, again, they have to use Fibonacci series. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, so on. So there are a lot of things are there. So I will show you, one day I will show you how usually this projects looks like, how this backlog, boards, reports, to have an overall understanding. Because our focus is BA, right? Not the Agile Scrum training. So if it is Agile Scrum training, then it is different. Or Jira training, that is different. Okay. That's what it is. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, bye. See you then. Right, we'll meet tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Manik, are you
Yes,
there?
Raj, we can close it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can close it, right? Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm ending the session, right?
Okay. Thank you.
1 minute. I think it's there is a problem from my